of the problems from your test review packet was to solve a rational function. So given the problem, what is the solution of negative 3x over x squared minus 4x minus 32 minus 2 over x minus 8 equals 3 over x plus 4? So the first thing we need to do when we're solving rational functions is to set our equation equal to 0. That's what we're trying to solve. We're trying to find for what x does this total function equal 0. So the first thing we're going to do is move this 3x plus 4 to the other side. We do that by subtracting it. So then we're left with negative 3x over x squared minus 4x minus 32 minus that 2 over x minus 8 and minus 3 over x plus 4. This whole thing is now equal to 0. What we want to do next is we want to have a common denominator. We want to use the least common denominator in order to find that. So if just looking at these three terms that we have in our denominators, we have x squared minus 4x minus 32, we have x minus 8, and we have x plus 4. So if we were just given the x minus 8 and the x plus 4, what we would do is multiply those two together and multiply our terms by x minus 8 times x plus 4 over x minus 8 times x plus 4. That's going to be multiplying each of those terms by 1, and we're always allowed to multiply by 1. That doesn't change anything about our equation. The other thing we notice about x minus 8 times x plus 4 is that it's equal to our other term. X squared minus 4x minus 32, we know that negative 8 times 4 is a negative 32. When we add negative 8 and 4 together, we're left with negative 4. So that is how we would prove that our x minus 8 and x plus 4 are factors of that x squared minus 4x minus 32. So all we're going to do is we're going to use this for our common denominator. In order to get that, we're going to multiply these terms by the x minus 8, x plus 4 that we talked about earlier. So let's do that now. We have this first one is staying just like it is. We're just going to rewrite that. We're not changing anything about that yet. Then we have this negative 2 over x minus 8. This is going to be multiplied by exactly what we said. We're allowed to multiply it by 1. So we're going to multiply that by 1. And we're doing that just by saying x minus 8 times x plus 4. The last term that we have is this minus 3 over x plus 4. And again, we're multiplying that by our least common denominator for those two, which is just x minus 8 times x plus 4 over x minus 8 times x plus 4. So looking at these, we can cancel some things out. We're going to be left with this in the bottom. And we're going to cross out that x minus 8 in that term, that middle term. And in the last term, we're crossing out this x plus 4. So let's see what we're left with. Now everything is essentially over x squared minus 4x minus 32. We can leave it in that expanded form. So we have negative 3x minus, this is 2 times x plus 4, minus 3 times x minus 8. All over this term, which is the same as this term. I'm just going to leave it as x squared minus 4x minus 32. This whole thing is equal to 0. So the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to expand this so that we can combine any like terms that we find. So if we write this again, we have negative 3x minus 2x, don't forget that minus, minus 8 minus 3x, and plus 24, all over x squared minus 4x minus 32. And that whole thing is equal to 0. So this looks a little crazy right now, but we can simplify it, right? We have this is an x, this is an x, this is an x, so we can combine those. This is just a number, and this is just a number, so we can combine those. So we're going to rewrite this as negative 3 plus negative 2 plus negative 8. We're ending with negative 8x. And then we have negative 8 plus 24, which is just plus 16. And this is all over x squared minus 4x minus 32. This is equal to 0. So now we're left to say, when does this function equal 0? This function will equal 0 when we have 0 over any number. It doesn't matter. We want 0 on the top. That's when our function is going to equal 0. We don't care about 0 on the bottom right now because that's undefined, and that's not what we're finding. We're finding when this equals 0. So that only happens when our numerator equals 0. So in order to solve this now, we just say negative 8x plus 16. We take our numerator, set it equal to 0, and solve for x. So the way we do that is we subtract the 16 from both sides. We're left with negative 8x negative 8x equals negative 16. We divide by negative 8, divide by negative 8 to get x by itself. These are going to become a positive, and x equals 2. So that's your solution to solving that rational equation.